Nick Forshager is the Emmy-nominated sound editor, and Martin Lee is the Emmy-nominated sound mixer for Fargo. I'm at Nobler Gold Derby. I wanted to kick things off by asking each of you, what was the most important thing for you with approaching the sound of this season? And let's start with Nick.
Well, I think our job in general when we do Fargo is how can the sound help create tension throughout, especially in the opening episode that's all about the cat and mouse of Dot and her trying to be captured. So I think for us, it's really trying to find those moments of being able to kind of capture the essence of that throughout. Tension's always the big word that we use when we're doing it. So things like and anything that we can do to heighten that as well. So things that we can emphasize to really bring that out, like you know floor creaks and the glass creaks and stuff that we have out throughout the episode are things that we designed specifically just to really build those tension moments. So I would say that's the biggest element that we have going on in the sound design part for the show.
Man?
Yeah, I guess I mean that's pretty much Nick pretty much said it. It's there's so much of that in the script. Like, everything in the script and the storytelling is right along those lines. There's a lot of tension in the script. And yeah, it's really our job to kind of keep that going. The other thing that we like to sort of keep an eye on, of course, is the humor. Fargo always has this quirky underlying sense of humor, and we're always looking at ways to sort of keep that alive and sort of keep that going underneath. Even sometimes when it gets pretty dark, there are things, just by making something a little too loud, sometimes it can sort of play to that notion. And that, that stuff is really, that's in the script. That's right from the beginning in the story.
Yeah. Can you think of a moment of that humor, Martin, where you were able to help that out with
Well,
something?
yeah, this might be a little bit of a mixer, a sound nerd thing, but
yeah,
when Munch walks in, when he breaks the glass in the gas station, and there's all this broken glass on the ground, and he walks in and he steps in across the glass in his boots, and the crunching and the crispiness of that sound, it's just so bright and in your face. And that was all very intentional. We really want to make that a big moment. And there's this narrative point as well, because the glass becomes an issue later in the story that carries on with Dot. But yeah, that was I remember just chuckling every time I heard that, just because it was not that it was funny, but it was just such a strong point that we were making,
Yeah. And Nick, like, you spoke about tension. Can you think of a moment of tension that where the sound was able to enhance that tension and build on that?
Well, I think that whole scene that he just mentioned is all about that. It starts with, there's not a lot of music in that to begin with. It's very sparse, and it's about an 8, almost 9 minute scene at the gas station. So it's all about, where are we in this room? Where's the sound coming from, and how is it pulling us through this event? And so I think the whole sequence really lends itself to building that tension. And it was really in the way that the guys mixed it. There's multiple things happening. There's Munch outside, and there's Wit inside the store, and then Dot's in the bathroom, and it's trying to lead the audience around that. And Martin and Kirk did a great job of, giving us the perspectives of something's happening here, but we're here at the moment, and then we know we're going to be moving, or something's going to be moving through your space. So that whole scene really captured that for us.
And there's sort of like, is there a balance you have to strike there? Because in one sense, that scene should be a bit disorientating in terms of confusion of, where's who's what, where, when, but also like you've got to sort of help clearly tell the story to viewers, so we're not like completely in the dark about where people are and what's happening.
Exactly. I think you have to find those specific moments. And a lot of those are built into the script and the way it's edited. But it's really trying to, obviously her dropping bullets in the bathroom from 30 feet away, you're not really going to hear that, but it's getting enough of the essence of it so that the audience knows something's happening so that you can draw yourself back and forth or through the space.
You
Yeah.
know, I thought I thought that bathroom scene was a really good one as far as tension goes. Like when it cuts to Dot in the bathroom and we know the guy's in the stall and she, you know, she kind of discovers that he's hiding in the stall. I thought the tension in there was great. And like I said before, that's all part of the script too. So we're just looking to sort of make that stuff really fly, you know.
And,
Mm.
and to Martin's part about the comedy in that, there's that humorous scene where then she just smack him with the ice and then he hits the toilet and just finding the right sound of that toilet. You know, it's supposed to be over the top and it's supposed to be big, but it can't be to the point where you're laughing, but you're not laughing, you know, over the top on it. So it's really finding that balance of the right sounds and how it fits in that space, but still hitting that little comedic moment on it.
Now, you're each nominated for the Emmys this year, as I said, separate categories. So, Nick, you're in the sound editing category, Martin, you're in the sound mixing category, but you're both nominated for your work on the opening episode of the season, The Tragedy of Commons, which I believe I'm correct that that scene we're talking about is in that episode, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was important in establishing the sound for this season of the show in that pilot episode?
I
I don't
think,
mind who goes first.
oh, I think it really, the show is all about chaos this season. It opens with this, you know, very chaotic scene with, you know, them fighting at the school board. And I think that, you know, shows kind of the arc for the season. It's always going to be about conflict and chaos. And so I think the sound really had to build from the opening scene all the way through. And so it becomes sometimes it's big and chaotic like that. And then there's times where these are these smaller chaos moments with like the gas station. And then later on in the season when they have the showdown at the compound, it's about
Mm.
chaos. So chaos is kind of for me it felt like was the whole narrative for the whole season and how to deal with the chaos in these different sizes, whether it's personal conflict or you know much bigger conflicts in their world.
Yeah. Martin?
Yeah, I guess I watched your interview with Warren Littlefield earlier, and he made the thing that he said right off the top was bang on. He said the show is about tone,
Mm.
you know, and that really is, you know, the tone, as Nick says, the tone of this was chaos, and it's tone not just in feeling and emotion, but I think, you know, we're always looking for ways to support that notion with sound. You know what, you know, like, you know, what, where are we placing things and all that kind of stuff, and at the same time keeping it all believable, obviously. But yeah, I thought Warren really got that right when he said that, you know, tone is such a big part of the show.
Yeah. Now, you're nominated in separate categories. You've got separate roles in the show, but like, how important is it that you guys serve each other, and how does sort of that relationship between sound editing and sound mixing work on Fargo?
Oh, it's essential. We need each other up and down. It's one
Absolutely.
team, you know. When we get into the room to put these things together, we have to act as one team. And even though the disciplines might be slightly different, you know, I think you know that you're working towards the same goal to bring Noah's vision to the screen. I mean, that's what our goal and job is. So to work together, I think is the most important thing that we do.
Mm. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you know, as a mixer, it's critical for us that, I mean, Nick and, you know, his team of editors are providing us with the material that we're working with. They're providing us with all the bits and pieces, and so as a mixer, it's our job to put those things together, you know, along with the music and all the production sound to create that final soundscape. And so it's so critical that we're all on the same page, and we like there's never surprises other than wow, that's great, you know, like that's kind of the biggest surprise we have to deal with typically. So yeah, no, we're always, you know, we're always talking. Like if we're working, you know, Kirk, my mixing partner on it, you know, we tend to work on our own for a little while, and then we connect up with Nick and the other guys, and it's always such a big part of the process, and the evolution all happens together with everybody weighing in.
Mm.
And we've
Now,
done this,
oh no,
for,
go.
oh, sorry, we've also done this for a few years now. So we have a little bit of a shorthand working together, having done
Yeah, definitely.
multiple installments of this series. So.
Yeah, which actually is what I was going to ask about with having worked on Fargo before together. What was special or different, particularly about this season of Fargo for each of you?
Well, so I think for me, they've always run different time periods, and I think this was the most current time period that we've had. So I think it resonated, to me much more so because it's the story and the sounds that we were going to be creating are so much more current than we had done in the past. We had one season that was in the 40s, and we had one season that was, in the 70s. And so this one to me was the most timely, and I think that was what made this one different for us, for sure.
Mm, yeah, Martin.
Yeah, I yeah, that's pretty much the biggest difference, I would think. I mean, the Fargo tone always carries through, and it's really just the time place, or the year that it's happening that changes things.
And it is unique how each season is completely different, but there is still, like you mentioned, we keep talking about tone, but it's really that thread always pulls through, and so you kind of know what you're going to get when you see a Fargo episode, but it's going to be timely and new as well. So
Mm,
it's the fun part about it, finding that balance.
yeah. What did each of you find particularly compelling about the story this season on the show?
Puppets.
Well, exactly. I think
Um,
it's the fact that it was so much in our consciousness and so timely and we knew when we were making it that, like, we're really trying to say something about what's kind of going on around our our country right now, and it really felt that way, from the get-go all the way to the very end. It had something to say, and so I felt that was the most unique thing this season for sure.
Yeah, it definitely had there's definitely a message there that carries through. And it's funny, as a Canadian looking in, it was kind of a neat thing for me to participate in as well, and to
Yeah.
see that unfolding.
hmm. What do each of you think the message that carries through from this season of Fargo is?
Well, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. What do you think, Martin?
Well, I mean, there's the whole political thing that we just talked about. I think that's the message. If you're going to attach a message to it, I think it would be that. It would be the political side of things and what's going on in all over the world. It's not just in the United States. It's everywhere. That rise of conservatism and all that kind of stuff. So that's probably the message. If you're looking for a message, I tend to just, sometimes I just like my entertainment to be entertainment. I just want to enjoy it and watch it for what it is. But I think, I guess there's a spouse, there's that undercurrent. Well, it's not an undercurrent. It's a major part of the story, is the spousal abuse issues. That's a very present thing in the story as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that there's a little bit of just, Dot just wanting to have a simple life of, I there's all this chaos in the world, and really the things I really do care about are my family, and that's,
Mm.
in the end, that's what she's trying to get back to. And
Yeah.
so even through all these, whirlwinds of different events, she still just wants to get back to seeing her daughter and her husband and being a family and not caring about it. Those things certainly affect you, but really it's about those things. So I
Mm.
think that's in the end, I think that's really the story they're trying to tell
Yeah.
in the case. Yeah.
Do you each of you have a favorite moment from the season?
Oh.
Sorry,
Well, I really did enjoy this episode, the first episode,
Yeah.
just setting it all up, and when we get to do that sound design that really is driving the story and pushing it, and you get excited. It's always a thrill to know the things that you're laying in there are really contributing to the storytelling, and so to me that even the whole episode, but the whole season, there's many moments, but that first episode really resonated with me as something really fun to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah. Did you hear the question, Martin?
No, I didn't hear the question. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's all right. Favorite moment of the season?
Oh, favorite moment. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, the whole reason that we put the first episode forward was because we just loved working on that whole scene at the end. But I gotta say that as odd as it was, the whole puppet story that happens much later, that was a lot of fun to work on. It really was, and it comes so out of left field. I mean, we're anyone who hasn't watched the show, we're just kind of spoiling for them at this point, but yeah, that was a pretty neat moment to have to work and to sort of make live really come alive as it does.
One of the most sort of like powerful scenes in the season is the final one of the whole show, of the whole story. And it's quite a quiet scene. There's not a whole lot of sound. How important is what you guys do how important was what you guys do in that scene of doing sound work on a scene that's quiet and is going to like conclude where we're left as viewers on the show?
Well, I think it plays to what Nick was talking about, is of tension, and sometimes just letting the actors have their lines and the dialogue without interruption is the best way to support the scene. If there's a lack of tension, then that's what you do, right? You can just let it be. So I think that might have been where we were coming from. I got to be honest, I'm having a hard time remembering what the last scene.
Yeah, I know.
It was a year ago we worked on this. I rewatched the first episode, but
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I think restraint is the big thing for us, is, sometimes not trying to throw sound in just to throw sound in. I sometimes just keeping those silences to allow the kind of the air to breathe in the room to do what they need to do. So sometimes sound can become distracting. So silences sometimes our best friend, is just letting the scene play for what it is.
Yeah.
So it's knowing where those moments are and looking for them.
And I think Fargo, like, not just on sound, but one of its real strengths is when it uses restraint. There's some wild, crazy, fun scenes as well, which is another strength of the show, but it can at times just pull back and use restraint. As we talked about the tone and how it will vacillate and how like the adds to the quirkiness and the feel of the show. What's something each of you learnt from working on this season?
It's a tough one.
these are tough questions.
Yeah. Well, I think for us, patience, because it was a long post-production schedule for us, and so we had a lot of starts and stops for, and it was things out of our control. We had the strike going on and things like that. So we would start, like this episode, we mixed at the beginning or end of February, and then we wrapped the show October, which is a super long post-production. So trying to stay focused and staying engaged and keeping things moving, I think was something I hadn't really, I've been on shows where I've been on it a long time, but this was a lot of starts and stops. So trying to get that focus back and getting back into it was really a challenge in a way, because you a lot of what we do is momentum. Sometimes we don't have time to look up and just work. You just do it. And so to have to start and stop was a little tricky, but I think once we kind of got to the end, it was, I think we found our groove again and really got it, honed in again. So that was, I think, the toughest challenge for me this season, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, that definitely resonated at our end too. It was hard to keep things going sometimes, but it's important not to lose sight of what's important to the show, and to keep those threads going, to keep that tone alive. And that's, I think, we worked pretty hard at that. So that's probably the good point, Nick.
Yeah.
And as I've said, you're both nominated for the Emmy this year. Or the Emmys this year. Congratulations. Nick, you've won one before for Fargo. So, what did that win mean to you?
It meant a lot. It really meant a lot because it was, uh, the first time I had worked with Martin and Kirk, and it was I had inherited the show from season one, and it was really really special, and we knew when we were working on it we were making something really special. The episodes that we had were just, I really, really unique. And season one was great. And, I'm obviously a big fan and biased to season two. Um, Ironically, though, I think we all felt like this season is very, very reminiscent of season two, where it had this, uh, you know, same kind of story and feel, and we were all very jazzed about doing it. So, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And man, what has the nomination meant for you this year?
Well, it's an honor just to be nominated, right, Nick?
Sure,
No, it's great. It truly is a big deal. It really is a big deal because it's our peers. It's the people that do what we do that are watching it and saying, "Hey, you guys did a great job." It really is really exciting to be nominated. It really
And
is.
then the quality of the work out there now has gotten so good, and there's
Everywhere.
so many shows. So to even be in the breath with a lot of these shows is really always such an honor for sure. So
Well, all the best of luck with the Emmys. Hopefully you can take out the wins. People who love awards and Emmys, go to goldderby.com to follow the races and join the discussion. And just thank both of you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
pleasure for
Oh, you're
having
very
me.
welcome. Thank you.